Silicon Valley has always believed it knows where greatness comes from. From glass towers in California, decisions are made that shape the digital world. But one statement, delivered casually at a tech conference in San Francisco, would ignite a storm far beyond the room it was spoken in. An American tech CEO, confident and respected, leaned into his microphone and said something that would echo across continents. Filipinos can't really code at a world-class level. The audience laughed lightly. What followed, however, would shock the very heart of Silicon Valley. The CEO's name was Richard Harlan, founder of one of the fastest-growing enterprise software companies in the United States. His platform powered logistics systems for Fortune 500 companies, and his opinions carried weight. When asked about expanding his engineering teams globally, Harlan dismissed Southeast Asia entirely. India, Eastern Europe, and Latin America were acceptable, he said, but the Philippines? He shook his head. Great customer support people, he added, but not elite engineers. The clip was recorded, uploaded, and quietly began spreading online. Within days, the video crossed the Pacific. Filipino developers, many working night shifts for overseas clients, watched it during breaks on buses, in shared apartments. Some laughed bitterly. Others felt anger rise. Many had built systems used by millions, yet their nationality reduced them to a stereotype. In online forums and private Slack groups, the clip became a rallying point, not for outrage alone, but for something deeper. Proof that talent doesn't belong to one zip code. Among those who watched the clip was Miguel Santos, a soft-spoken back-end engineer from Quezon City. Miguel didn't work for a flashy startup. He worked remotely for a mid-sized fintech company in Singapore, earning enough to support his family and fund his younger sister's education. He had never attended an Ivy League school, never spoken at a conference, and never imagined crossing paths with Silicon Valley elites. But he had something else, an obsession with solving hard problems efficiently. Miguel wasn't alone. Across the Philippines, thousands of developers shared similar stories. Some were self-taught, learning from free resources at internet cafes. Others came from provincial universities rarely mentioned in global rankings. Yet many had contributed to open-source projects, built scalable systems, and fixed bugs that engineers in bigger companies couldn't solve. They didn't brag. They shipped code. And now, quietly, they were paying attention to Richard Harlan's words. A week later, Harlan doubled down. In a follow-up interview, he clarified his position. It's not personal, he said. It's just data. We've tested offshore teams before. The Philippines just doesn't produce top-tier coders. That sentence hit harder than the first. Data. Tested. Final. To Silicon Valley, this sounded reasonable. To Filipino developers, it felt like a door being slammed shut again without anyone bothering to look inside. Then something unexpected happened. A small, anonymous GitHub repository began trending. It contained a technical challenge titled The Impossible Pipeline. The description was simple. Build a real-time distributed system capable of processing millions of transactions per second with minimal latency. No prize, no company logo, just a challenge. The repository's README ended with a single line, for those who were told they can't. Miguel found the repository late one night. He read the problem carefully, then smiled. This wasn't impossible. It was hard but elegant. He forked the repo and began working. So did hundreds of others. Filipino developers from Manila, Cebu, Davao, and overseas Filipino workers coding from Dubai, Toronto, and Tokyo. They shared ideas quietly, not in public threads, but through code commits. What emerged wasn't chaos. It was coordination. Within 10 days, solutions began appearing. Not toy examples, but production-level architectures, custom load balancers, novel caching strategies, elegant fault tolerance mechanisms. One solution, submitted under the username SanJoseDev, stood out. It wasn't flashy. It was clean. Reviewers, anonymous senior engineers from around the world, began commenting. This is clever. Why haven't I seen this approach before? Whoever wrote this understands systems deeply. Tech Twitter noticed. Engineers began sharing screenshots of the code. The repository exploded in stars. Still, no one knew who was behind it. Then a prominent Silicon Valley VC retweeted the challenge with a caption, "Some of the best distributed systems code I've seen this year." Surprised to learn many contributors are from the Philippines. That single sentence changed the tone of the conversation overnight. Richard Harlan saw the tweet during a board meeting. He dismissed it at first. "Open source hype," he muttered. But curiosity lingered. That night, he asked one of the senior engineers to review the repository. The next morning, the engineer returned pale-faced. "Richard," he said carefully, "we couldn't solve this internally as cleanly as they did." Harlan frowned. "Who is they?" The answer unsettled him. "They're Filipino developers," the engineer continued. "Some of them are better than our senior staff." Silence filled the room. Harlan asked for names, backgrounds, credentials. There were none that fit his expectations. No Stanford degrees. No Google resumes. Just GitHub profiles, code history, and raw ability. For the first time since his comment went viral, doubt crept in. The story didn't stop there. A well-known Silicon Valley accelerator announced an open technical trial, inspired by the challenge. Anyone could participate, anonymously. The goal was simple: optimize a failing legacy system under extreme constraints. Submissions poured in from around the world. When results were published, 3 of the top 5 solutions came from Filipino developers. One was Miguel's. Miguel received an email he thought was spam. It invited him to present a solution, live, to a panel of Silicon Valley engineers. His hands shook as he read it again and again. He had never left Southeast Asia. He had never pitched anything in English beyond Zoom calls. But this wasn't about him anymore. It was about every quiet coder who had ever been underestimated. The presentation was streamed internally across several tech companies. Miguel explained calmly, diagram by diagram, decision by decision. When questioned aggressively, he didn't defend, he demonstrated. When challenged, he smiled and optimized in real time. By the end, the panel wasn't asking questions. They were taking notes. One engineer leaned back and whispered, "We need to rethink our assumptions." Richard Harlan watched the presentation from his office. He recognized the elegance immediately, the kind that couldn't be faked. When Miguel finished, the room erupted in applause. Harlan felt something unfamiliar, embarrassment, not because he was wrong. Silicon Valley is wrong often, but because he had spoken with certainty without listening. 2 weeks later, Harlan released a public statement. It was brief, carefully worded, but unmistakable. "I was wrong." It read, "Talent is global. Some of the most impressive engineering work I've seen recently has come from Filipino developers." The internet reacted instantly. Some praised him. Others weren't so forgiving. But the damage, or perhaps the correction, was already done. Recruiters began searching differently. Philippines stopped meaning only support roles. Filipino-led engineering teams received more inbound offers in 1 month than they had in years. GitHub profiles were scrutinized more than passports. The shift wasn't charity, it was competition. Silicon Valley hates being left behind. Miguel declined several offers before accepting one, not because of money, but because of respect. He chose a company willing to build a distributed team centered in Manila, not as an offshore extension, but as a core engineering hub. For the first time, Filipino developers weren't just participating in global tech, they were shaping it. The story spread beyond tech. Universities referenced it. Coding boot camps use it as motivation. Parents who once discouraged their children from pursuing software development began to reconsider. Something subtle but powerful had shifted. Belief. Not external validation alone, but internal confidence reinforced by undeniable proof. Critics tried to downplay it. One case doesn't change everything, they argued. They were right. But movements rarely start with everything changing. They start with one crack in a wall that was never meant to be permanent. The myth of where intelligence lies had been challenged, and it didn't survive scrutiny. Behind the scenes, Filipino developers continued doing what they had always done. Working quietly, learning obsessively, building relentlessly. The difference now was visibility. Their work was no longer hidden behind company logos or time zones. It had names, commits, and consequences. Richard Harlan later admitted in an interview that his comment was based on outdated experiences and limited exposure. The world changed faster than my assumptions, he said. It was a rare moment of humility in an industry addicted to certainty. And it mattered because others were listening. Today, Silicon Valley still dominates headlines, but the code running beneath it tells a more global story. Lines written in Manila, reviewed in Cebu, deployed from servers half a world away. The internet doesn't care where you're from. It only cares if your solution works. For Filipino developers, the moment wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition long overdue, not because they needed approval, but because opportunity follows attention, and attention, once earned honestly, is hard to take back. Miguel still codes late at night sometimes, not because he has to, but because he loves it. When asked about Richard Harlan's original comment, he shrugs. It wasn't personal, he says. It was incomplete. Then he opens his laptop and continues building. Somewhere in Silicon Valley, a young founder watches his story and pauses before making assumptions. Somewhere in the Philippines, a teenager opens a laptop at midnight, believing, maybe for first time, that their work can matter globally. This wasn't a story about one CEO being wrong. It was about an industry being reminded that talent is evenly distributed, even when opportunity is not. And when opportunity finally meets preparation, the result is impossible to ignore. Silicon Valley wasn't shocked because Filipinos could code. It was shocked because it had overlooked them for so long. And the real surprise wasn't the brilliance of the code. It was how quietly it had been there all along. In the end, no one needed to shout. The code spoke for itself. And in a world built on logic, performance, and results, that was the loudest statement of all.